Okay, so I built a scalping system. You're going to buy 1 pip apart for anywheres from 1 hour up to 8 hours. And I had to take it down to 4 currency pairs because when I was trading the CAD, even though I made money on the scalping off the top, I ran out of tickets. So I couldn't push the system to get maximum efficiency. This is the 1 hour chart, and we're just basically trying to buy a plunge. So I put some 8 hour, I don't think it get filled, but just in case we come down here today, I'm going to buy that plunge. And everything's based on the 1 hour chart. And it's just a 20 pip grid. We're trying to make 20 to 40 pips. And that's the system. Looks like we're gonna nail the 115 finally here. So what you're doing here is you're dropping orders, and I've got a bunch of pendings here that haven't filled yet on the Australian dollar. Plus, pound for pound, the ATR is the chart. So here you see same amount of pips. So now we can run these scalps in here and start buying for 2 hours in front of the market with a 20 pip stop. So I'm looking for it to go to hell as the euro pops its cork, and here comes that's the Australian come back. Since there's not that much volatility, right? It looks like this. This is going to pop its cork, and this I'm buying a pullback. So these guys are getting hammered right now, and I'm going to buy them on the plunge. So for 4 hours, I'm going to buy right there. I think I just maxed out the platform. Okay. So 4 currency pairs, I could do it. So everything's against the dollar. And I'm just trying to buy plunges. Just a timed out, predetermined plunge. 2 hours. I'm getting in right there at the edge. They're going to spike that down there in 2 hours to fill that. Meanwhile, this guy will cash out, this guy will cash out. These other guys plunge in and hopefully fill about, maybe get to $1,500 of margin would be ideal. But you could have picked any one of these trades. You could have played the top, become a bottom on the 1 hour. Dumbass fucking top bottom shit. I have an order there, I have an order here. You could have bought this thing on a retest below the 20-yard line. Now I'm looking to buy it there again, but I don't think it's going to make it. So who's going to kill the dollar first? I say the euro. The dominoes fall. We're going to have the British pound come in, and we're just going to have a domino theory. I'm looking for the laggards to be Australia, New Zealand taking up the rear here. And it's nothing but a scalp day trade. Hopefully we're out by the time the stock market opens. We'll be up to like 5 grand, which is basically where the account started. But unfortunately, with the spreads through the holiday, since I held stuff with a 20 pip stop, the spreads went to, on the New Zealand, they went to, on this broker. And this is why people were having a hard time trading here, is because if you held a trade over the weekend with a 32 pip stop, you were taken out of a standard lot. Whatever that size was, it didn't matter. You were taken out. So you couldn't hang through the holiday on this account. And look at this big trash, this 20 pip trash window. So this is the trick, is to get in here in the this smash and grab zone here. So this top bottom fails, and this is really the entry window. Here I'm going to be buying all the way down below here today. And this one, so this is British pound against the euro. Who's going to pop first? That's going to be the question. Who's going to pop their cork? And then the other currencies, since they're not as volatile. So there's pip for pip, and using the framing of the MT4 is creating a window of volatility, which makes this guy half the volatility here. So you actually have to trade twice as big here to make up for the cost. And this is right around the middle. This is so if I let the computer take the true range per frame, New Zealand is like ridiculous. You can buy 20 pips deep here. So for 1 hour, I'm going to buy here, and now I'm going to really get crazy. I'm going to buy pretty hard into that plunge, New Zealand. I think I have enough margin left over from the money I'll make from the pound and the euro dollar. So I'm looking for the 15. Anything above here is fine with me. So as soon as it starts to go up here, I should be cashing out. And then I wrote these short 2-hour guys. So what I could do is, and of course, I always talk about it, but I never do it, is take all these scripts and pile them into one giant thing. And maybe I'll do it because the market's going to be closed. And I have to be up on the weekend. Make a giant file. You still have to know what all that stuff's going to do and how it's going to do it. And some of the old stuff, which is really creative, unfortunately has kind of a bug in it. But maybe it's not a bad bug if you don't want to overtrade. There's a thing where if it can't get the price it wants, it'll freeze the platform. And so anything, I can't sell anything in here because it could just totally destroy your system and financially ruin you. If it goes haywire, I mean, you could still make a mistake in the stops and the sizes and how wide the stop is and how many of those you put in there and how long they last. But here at least we have the dollar, and we could look at the dollar index, but I think here it's I'm just going to look at like how many pips against the dollar. New Zealand being the most, I guess, low volatility. If I fix the volatility to basically the same vertical dimension, boy, that pound was a nice. So anybody that scalped that wick is probably out of that pound right now. And that was an amazing, like 18 pip psycho, date rape, I should say. And then how many pips are you trying to make? So here are I think the most volatile pair right now is the euro to the dollar. The pound's kind of trying to get back because the pound's been dead. But the pound's about to make a stampede here. So I think the euro's going to lead the pound into the opening of the Dow Jones. And then this guy's going to pick up the rear, and this guy's going to pick up the rear, and I'm not going to put any more new tickets in. And since the only last 8 hours, so if I stop dropping them now, stop, drop, and roll, if I stop dropping them now, they should be gone by 5. Well, they'll just so we're just going to let that, we're kind of have to say we're done trading for the day if we're going to let the 8-hour things play out, and we're going to wait for the drift. So, like I said, you could have scalped that pound, and now you're holding. That's the ultimate hammer on here. I'm still waiting for that Australian to maybe spike down, and certainly if this guy goes ripping down, if I have available margin. So as this guy's going up, pound up, euro up, and then getting here on pullbacks right there. So this guy's going to be filling where it's just basically going into new lows. I mean, just utter collapse of that currency. Or are we going to just are we in fair value right now? Is it going to settle down here? Is this going to be the last one to leave? And look at how the high of, I don't want to zoom out too much and lose perspective, but we had a perfect double top there at the 20-yard line. And just waiting for it to crush back into these arrows. as this goes up, it free up some margin. So trying to get this, I got a camshaft effect here with the scripts. But it was too much. I ran out of chart space too. I'm running Windows at 200% normal font here to get this fat look. I just want the most clean, structured chart. As far as the breakouts and stuff, the limit system doesn't allow you to really trade like that. Now, if you did run stop entry, you could make the claim that you're going to trade a volatility breakout on the Australian dollar right now, whichever way it goes. It's come down, it's paused. You got 2 hours of sideways action here. So if you just go bar by bar, of course, this is a great place to get out of this trade if you're scalping that, because this hammer here is a hammer engulf. I mean, that's already engulfing. This is just sitting in a hammer formation. I don't think I need candlesticks to tell me. Another thing is I fatten my bar up really fat. So here's like the true crude structure going back 20 bars, maybe 15 bars. And look how even still the ATR is so big over here on this ATM euro. If I scrunch this down to about 60 pips, so I used to play this game on my mobile phone. I would drag these around and say, oh, look at this, pip for pip. Of course, this just stretched out all the way. Pip for pip is more volatile. In the last, so see how the ATR changes here? This is more volatile than this is. This is the one consolidating now. So just framing each window is enough of a shift that you put. I've got 60 pips showing kind of on every chart, about 60 pips of range. So who's going to, in the shuffleboard world of movement, I'd say that euro and the pound, it's going to be a real tug of war there. You could go trade the euro versus the pound, and that's another unfortunate 3D chess move that may be a little bit too daunting of a task, especially if you've got just one eyeball and you can only see, or you can only look at one thing at a time, they say. So here it's just a domino theory. I'm waiting for that New Zealand to crush into my limits. I'm waiting for the pound or the euro to go up harshly. Of course, the ride's kind of over on the euro there. People have cashed out, and here comes the pound picking up the rear. It looks like Australia would be next, and then New Zealand's last. If you get one more sell-off in New Zealand here to pick up a retest, a psycho spike retest, and get that beautiful hammer. So we're going to trade anticipating the hammer. I could have cashed out on that euro, but I'm just going to let it go since I haven't reached my $1,500 or $1,800 of margin that I want to use. But this goes on all day long, this 1 hour chart, 24 bars a day. It's hard to believe that there's windows in here that are just so, like 15 minutes, you just made X. Now that pound scalp is still, now here's where you're either going to put in limits again for the retest of that wick, because that's a possibility. The market could have a beautiful hammer and then bam. You could have a beautiful engulf and then bam, it goes against you. But how much is it going to go against you? And if I just did buy only, which on here I discovered that if I wanted to delete the bottom tickets on here and I ran out of room, if I double click the close order button, then I will get the bottom ticket taken off here. If I just keep double clicking close ticket, it keeps peeling the bottom order off. So that's another thing about trading in one direction, whereas my sells are the bears entries. I'm going to cash out into their overbought, whatever that is, on that time frame, whatever the spike. So that hopefully that euro dollar cashed out of something there, because we just had a magnificent 13 pip, like 20 29 pip run here. We just had a spectacular coming off the 20 to the 20, maybe 25 pips. Here, a little mini stop hunt. Still looking for this guy to go crushing wildly into this stuff. As the pound goes up, and I can afford to buy a bunch of this because it's so cheap. Whereas it costs more for the pound. Because the pound's got to take out this high from the last hour, that hammer. And some people are going to buy that hammer. Some people are already in. Some people got in on that psycho smash. Right? Okay, I'm ready to put more tickets. I'm just too eager to trade. It's a big problem. I really can't wait for them to smash that down here in 1 hour. So I'm really putting in an outrageous qualifier. And here I should be selling at the top of this. But I'm so long still. I should be selling up here. If I go to the daily chart, my sell window, I'd have to place some drops up here for sure for some kind of backlash out of that window using the jigsaw theory. So here's the window. It goes all the way back to this rooftop, and you got this, and look at this big pop where they trapped the breakout traders that were looking for any particular soul that was looking for that. But they take it into that hard, and this is the 1 hour chart, and it's just drama goes over and over again. Now, it looks like they're going to make a stampede into, like this would trigger a buy stop from a money management perspective. There's a 3 hour top. So that would clear that, and then we could sell up into that. And of course, if I put one up there now, in this window, and that's 1 hour, right? I'm looking at for that spike up there in 1 hour, and this is where you'd have to really do like bullfighting. You've got to put the orders in like really out there for 1 hour, because if it spikes up, you want the fuck out. So getting follow through. Here comes the looks like the pound's going to lead the party. Then it's going to be quite the hysterical race. This could still pull back. And, that could just be cutting into my profits, I suppose. But on this thing, this is a demo and kind of it's going to balance out the equity. Because if this guy's cashing out and this guy's plunging, this typically is going to go against. Right, if we're going to trade this setup of this void, this looks like it's going to crush down for sure. And so if I go super deep, and like I said, I can pluck off the bottom tickets by just double clicking this. So I can always manage the inventory of all these psychotic tickets waiting to be filled. I can also add to this position on pullbacks. So if I wanted to put an 8 pip stop on a 12 pip, gotta be careful you don't double click this. It's going to open up the editor. That's the problem with favorites, but I could still take the other one down to just favorites. So here, if I buy that on pullback, just for a little baby bounce, and that's a 4 hour script though. So it's completely different than this 2 hour one with a 20 pip stop. These are all different. I just had to put it on the favorites list there so I could just say I'm just going to buy 10 pip ranges. This guy is pulling back nicely into my order banks. Now here comes the pound. So the pound's about to break out. We'll let the computer choose the pip range here. So we got 20 pip pullback on the New Zealand. If it pulls back another 22 pips, it would be so beautiful because it would fill that. And then as the pound crashes out into the top of that, which is set up to do, and I have cells way up there that are like, oh my God, 1 hour with a 15 pip stop, sure, I'll sell up there. We've basically got to go spiking up there. It's nuts. Okay, so Australia is bringing up the rear. Now here I will put in a tight 4-hour 8-pip stop. Looks like I just maxed out the account. Okay, here's the great thing about it too, is that they maxed out the account. I can either trim off the bottom order by going to this, right? Because we're not going to see that price today. That's over. It's coming into the stock market open, right? So this is the shuffling of the deck before stock market open. Looks like the pound's going to rip as soon as stock's open. So I'm going to take off these bottom tickets so I can free up some space. Now having a shorter expiration is more work because you got to keep dropping the scripts every 4 hours or 8 hours. But okay, it looks like we're going to get a plunge on this New Zealand. So I'm just clearing the decks from the British pound pendings. I don't think we're coming down here again. And I don't think we're coming down here again. Now it's a hard pullback on the Australian dollar. Okay, so now I'm going to put in some super aggressive orders here. 1 hour tickets with a 15 pip stop. And then I'll go for the 10 pip stop at the borderline for 4 hours. There goes the pound. So they just broke out the top of that hammer. And let's see how much throttle you can get here on the stock market opening. Stock market's opening up in 1.5 minutes or 1 minute, 10 seconds. So looks like the pound's going to beat the euro to the high of the day. Who takes out the high of the day first? There's the high of the day. And it looks like a huge bum rush here. And maybe I'll actually get filled on these psychotically. They look very close. So that's 1 hour. So you need to have these British pounds spike up there in 1 hour. But it's about 50 minutes left on those orders. That'll be an amazing target window. And maybe get a backlash off that, so we'll see. I also change the names of the scripts and try to make these smaller. Just have the pip stops. Here's a big swing trade. 50 pips to make 100 pips. 4 hour. I don't have many of those in there. And it's not to say I couldn't put one in right here, but then I'm looking to take all that heat as this pulls back. So I never got my fills here. I got what I got. I'm just let it go here. I got exposure to the sell side of that. Everything else is in buy mode. I could throw some sell limits up there for 2 hours. Can we make it up here? I wonder. Yeah. So now I would say, well, you want to look at a bigger picture there. That's kind of a ridiculous target in 2 hours. 4 hour chart, no, it's not going to happen. I don't think I get any fill there. So you'd have to start putting them right on the top of this 4 hour bar. I think this is going to be the scalp window today. That's got to be it. I'll be cashing out all the way up into that. So on the 4 hour chart, it looks pretty strange. If I went to the 4 hour chart on all these too, it looks very strange. If I zoom in, now here you can see clearly the pullback on the 4 hour, but doesn't really get anywhere quite yet. The 4 hour view, look at this thing climbing out of this hole. This is the pullback of the week on the 4 hour. So the 4 hour view is nuts, and this looks like it is going to tank into my limits on the 4 hour. Here, if I let this one ride out, I'll be buying down here with a 30 pip stop to make 80 pips. $20 pip stop to make 40 pips. The pound is, this looks like a beautiful pullback here. I'm going to go super tight. 8 pip stops here, just to buy one more little pullback in a 10 pip range for 4 hours, and then the 2 hour script. Oh, here's the fast 1 hour. So this is the big scalper. 15 pip stop for an hour. This is the lowest risk trade I can think of, is to drop this every hour somewhere. You can either drop it right here, or you could drop it super deep like that. Okay, so the 5-minute window is coming up. I'm going to go back to the, well, as long as I zoom out on this 4 hour chart, I can handle it. So I'm zoomed out. Everybody's on the 4 hour chart now. And this could be on a different platform with wider stops. But you can see how golden this entry is here. The idea of buying this top. This is going to be your perfect entry window. Optimal trade entry window. And you're buying as it comes back to that. Look at him pull it back in. It's beautiful. So I'm going to catch a falling knife here. Now I'm just going to go hog wild for 2 hours. I'm just going to put it, I'm putting the kitchen sink in here, trying to make 40 pips. Let's see if they can spike that down in. And it looks like the British pound is going to beat the euro to the high of the week, the high of the day. Now when you look at it like this, it's like, holy shit. It's like you're barely, look at this thing breaking out, look at this thing creeping out. Yeah, good luck selling into that. So it looks like we're going to finish off the end of the year here with this big kind of, hopefully they get filled on this today. Now I'm going to put in the 50 pip stops. So it's big monster risk here for 4 hours. I'm going to risk $50 to make 100. I don't know. Okay, maxed it out. So we have to wait an hour for something to delete. Still waiting for this thing to come smashing down and fill me up. It's 4 hour charts. Okay, so I'm going to wait for news. I guess there's not too much news left. And of course, technically Monday is the last day. Here's the pound making a stampede for the border. And to make it pip, the same pip across, it looks like this, where this looks like, wow, you know, this is just such a quiet market here. Pip for pip, pound for pound. But yeah, here we go, up and away. Who's going to beat? Oh, New Zealand's coming back off the floor. Now, you really don't have a choice here. You have, on limits, you don't have that choice to, oh, I want to buy somewhere, because it looks like they're going to smash that New Zealand and the Australia down now. Okay, so I'm taking on almost $1,000 of margin here. One last crush as the pound and the euro go up. We get this pullback. In Australia, New Zealand, coming into my limits, trying to get that $2,000 of margin rolling for the scalp, and that's the trick, is to get that big fat scalp under there and get the account up so that you can trade lighter once you've banked, once you've doubled the account. And you can probably not even get filled on some tickets, but at least you're holding on. You've doubled the account, and then you would just take your risk down 50%. Real creeper gear move here on the markets, of course, the 4-hour chart. But yeah, this pullback looks like it's just about done. Coming right back to the perfect entry is here. Almost there. Okay, now we're getting some tickets getting filled. I'm going to put the 1 hour script in here. Now that's quite a that's a 10K. Every one of these is a 10K. It's a lot of K. It adds up real quick. I mean, I probably dropped about 8 standard lots that come and go. So this looks like a great setup like this, but pip-wise, it's really depends how big you're in each instrument. Just loving this thing crushing back into here, though. So I've wrapped my limits around the stop hunt area. Here's a nice conservative 15 pip stop to make 35 pips. With the most beautiful thing to see this smash down into here and spike down and rip back up, and that's like this is the best trade in the world. It's like the hammer here on the 1 hour. So the 4 hour, waiting for this to come back to, I may not get it. And of course, this is where you have to gauge how big are you going to get in this thing. Are you going to nibble at this thing as it's sitting here? Buy a couple and then have limits below. So buy a couple at the market, but you can almost count on the market moving 5 pips against you. More than likely. So you're trying to get the market to come to you, but you realize at some point it's not going to come to you in the way that you would need to size it to make the most amount of money per move. And of course, how big you're trading ultimately is going to be the determiner, because anybody could say this is a great setup, let's get in here. But with too tight a stop, would you get back in the same trade, or would you buy on limits if it started to crush into there? Could you step in and buy limits? So as soon as we crush, hopefully today it spikes down 20 pips, and then it rips back to this floor here, and this is my exit if we go down. But meanwhile, I'm making money from the euro and the pound to pay for that trade, that possible fill. And it just looks like don't forget it's in a downtrend. All the trend traders are short right now, loving it on the 4 hour, looking for new lows. And they would probably cash out like anybody would into that giant void. Like here on the 4 hour, there's a void here that extends to the right, and once that's filled, it's done. This one, we're kind of trapped in the breakout. We've broken out 20 pips. But, pip-wise, this is hardly a big move. You can definitely afford to trade that currency. You're not going to blow up your account trading this. It's hardly moving. The pound can rip, and the pound is ripping. See, in the 4 hour, the euro's still killing it. And here it's like, wow, the lowest ATR right now here. So how far can they poke down the New Zealand before the buyers come in? And here's a big pullback. I'm getting filled on this euro dollar. They're coming back into these orders. Now this looks like it's stabilizing. I don't see anybody coming in to buy that. And the pound is ready to rip its face off here. Okay, so let's go. Here comes the big contest. I think there's a little bit of news coming out at 10 or something. New home sales. I don't know, some bullshit. So far, the euro and the pound have not taken out the high of the day, and the New Zealand Buyers are coming into Australia now, and New Zealand's kind of reluctantly going to have to play along. I suppose if the dollar gets creamed, it'll just be a big bum rush. Ooh, look at this wonderful pullback on the pound. Amazing. I think I put some buy limits in there. So I'm really pushing the account. But I want to get to that $2,000 margin usage for a price pulse move. I can scalp out of it and be done with it. And there's always going to be this kickback before it does take out the high of the day, typically. And what time frame is that on? So the 15 is pulling back hard. But I got buy limits here waiting to get filled. And of course, this was the reason for the pullback, is that half-hour top. It's filled. On the 30-minute, it's just this little top here. But yeah, the buyer. So half-hour charts. Maybe a different broker, different model. Look at this wonderful, gentle pullback on the half hour. And here was the spike. Oh, get filled here. I definitely want that. So I'm going to buy that. They're going to try to kick everybody out of that before they rip it north. So I'll take that for 35 pips. I'll take all of these now. This is the 30-minute chart. So you'd have to be a very active trader here, and maybe you're cashing out of shit like up here. So the 30-minute chart is a whole different, maybe you write 15-minute scripts. Here's a 1-hour script. So that's pretty gentle. Okay. Still not getting to my, even with all this drama on the half hour. So the formation of the choppy top, where's the final resolve here? So you never really seem to get, it's like, where's this relationship going kind of question. Look at this thing still storming into my limits. There's the 30-minute. And I mean, this will turn on a dime. We'll come all the way back to fair value, all the way back to the center here. This looks like it's ready to go to hell. So this one, total, a lot of people would have to assume at this point, this is what a bear would think in this time frame is, okay, there's my shoulder, here's my head. We're going to go down to here. I'm going to go to here. I'm just thinking I want to buy all the way to here. I definitely want to buy here. I want to buy here. And I want to buy here. And then I want to just hold it for like 2 hours. And make some money. The pound's coming back. Okay, just almost $1,000 of margin. Boom. So let's get another $500 of margin rolling here. On this complete fake out move, as they call it. Where they keep crushing it back. You're like, oh my God, really? It's ranging again? Oh, you mean the market doesn't really go anywhere? No, it doesn't. Never goes anywhere. Look at that. Look at this 20 pip. Look at this amazing range trade sell. Look at this thing crushing into my tickets. It doesn't get any better. Okay, I'm going to go for that 35 pip winner. Right here on the 10K. That's it. I just maxed the account out again. So now we sit and wait. This is only stocks have only been open for. I don't think there's so much volatility right now in the stock market. Okay, the 1,045. I guess I'll settle for that. Okay, so this should be the bottom of that. Now I'll just sit and wait. Looks like the buyers are coming into this Australian dollar as they retest near the lows, and the New Zealand's backing off the lows here. So it's just a half-hour chart, straight down, drift down a half hour, and I'm still putting some more limits here with a 15 pip stop to pick up some more pound before the eventual breakout of the high of the day. So a lot of approach avoidance here, and this was a great scalp if you just bought that plunge with a 30-minute script where you lay in you could double click. Instead of these drops, you could have just a complete standard formula of buying every pip part, 1 hour, 40 pips deep. But if it's 15-minute script and it's going to buy every pip, and you drop it once an hour or once every 45 minutes, it has a completely different performance rate than if it's an 8-hour script. Here is the so this has reached its zenith here. I think the buyers are coming in here, and we're back to business as usual. Destroy the dollar. Everybody's had their last pullback, I think, and I'm loading up if they pull it back again. Did not reach the $2,000 of margin, but we got to 1,045. That's going to be about as good as it gets, I guess, unless something happens insane. The half hour is this is already starting to take out the high from 25 minutes ago. Look how that raid on this basement. Come here. Wow. These guys are pulling back now. So it's a big handoff, and I think we ran out of sellers here. Still waiting. Pending home sales is coming out in like 4 minutes. So then you have natural gas and crude oil. Every half hour there's news. So let's pray for the dollar to get smashed. 1 minute till news. So I put a few more buy limits in on the British pound in case they spike it back before it rips north. I'm expecting euro to rip north. Everything go north now. So I think everything's all synced up against the dollar. And we got 30 seconds here. Try to use all this margin. And if we rip up and I want to buy in pullbacks, I think we'll be careful and to only put in 1 hour scripts. 15 seconds. It should be pretty brutal. This is not a big news event, but it's the only news to feed on. And 5 seconds before we close that candle, now we're off to a new candle. Boom. And then 5 minutes. We have to wait 5 minutes. So another 5 minutes. We have to wait for the big boys to come in and pull the trigger. Looks like the euro and the New Zealand are just bid up past the close of the last bar. And this would be the reversal time. And then you have more news in a half an hour, and then more news in a half an hour. So the nice thing about the limit entry is that I know that these fills, if it goes deeper, I've got enough money to buy more if it goes down. I also put buy limits in here just before the news and here. And here I still haven't got filled on some of these fresh buy limits I just put in. So that's another bonus. If we pick up some more margin here, $300 more margin would be the ultimate. But it may not happen, so we just have to wait. Okay, here comes the 5-minute traders, and I just deleted these bottom ones and added a bunch more K. I picked up a whole $10 more margin. Now I'm going to delete the bottom ticket. Double click it off the euro here, start peeling the deepest orders I don't think are going to fill today. New Zealand's making a move, rounding out my equity. So I really am not getting the most efficiency by trading for instruments, but also harder to get killed, I suppose. I also could have taken off the winners as they came up. I could have cashed out on this as it was climaxing on the half hour, and then just put in limits here to buy this, and put in limits again here after cashing out, do rinse and repeat. Still waiting for the 5-minute traders to make their moves. So the 5-minute charts have updated. And we can still get some follow through here, pulling back on the British pound. Okay, they just stopped me out of something. How dare they? So I'm going to buy this. As it plunges, oh, I just double clicked that, fucking up the editor. So you got to leave the editor open. In case you double click that, better to have the editor open instead of the computer go fumbling looking for it. And here I'm going to buy more pullbacks for a big juicy target of 35 pips with a 15 pip stop here. Well, got to get this to come down here in 1 hour to buy more, because I got to get back to that $1,000 of margin usage. Okay, still have more news coming out in a half hour. Okay, so back to $1,000 of margin. And we're on the half hour chart. And we're waiting again. Look at this pullback. And they're still crushing this one, going for the low of the day of yesterday. New Zealand looks to be the strongest one now. I'm still willing to buy more pound and more euro as they keep smashing it back again and again. As you form the triangle, all this ranging is accumulation phase for me. Okay, now I just picked up a nice juicy $1,100 of margin. Perfect. So finally, I can add to my my bearish dollar. Look how hard that is. And when the news comes out on natural gas storage is next. So I'm getting these fills. I didn't have to be here for that. I could have just walked away, set those. So some of these are 8-hour scripts that are sitting here waiting to get filled. Trying to get to that $1,500 margin, I think, is my closest I can get to the $2,000 here. Okay, more news is coming out in 22 minutes. Okay, I just filled some more tickets, and we're waiting for a retracement. Now, look at this. It keeps coming down into my trap. Very frisky now. Natural gas is coming out. Picked up a few tickets here. The pound's ready to leave the station. A half-hour charts. On the 4-hour chart, you're approaching that structure level here. Coming all the way back to this top bottom on the 4-hour. So let's go to the 4-hour. And this is an amazing pullback. This thing has already sprung. Here's a beautiful pullback. So the only thing that's really a good setup is the Australian. From a top-bottom perspective here, it's a great retest entry. So on the 1-hour, it's just ranging. Just more brutal range. Look at this thing still crushing into my orders. I'm looking for a stop hunt down to this 40. I'm going to buy all the way into that. all the way on the way to there. Looks like New Zealand's coming off the floor. Let's put everybody to the 1 hour chart. All right. Beautiful. Now I'm going to put some tight stops in. 8 pip stops to make 12. I've just maxed out the account again as far as tickets. So we either got to get stopped out of something or cash out on a profit, or the order's going to have to just delete itself. Still struggling to take out the high of the day on the British pound and the euro. Still consolidating in a triangle. Massive sell-off here. As we expected, this has got to come down to fill the limits. As the pound, it looks stronger than the euro now. I mean, you're above this level here, and like I said, if you didn't scalp out of that hammer, you'd be disappointed right now, because now you're underwater. What's that 1 hour hammer? You had your chance to scalp that, and you were putting a buy stop above that hammer, and then people talk about, well, what is the probability of candlestick patterns? Well, it depends. I mean, if you got in here on the 1 hour chart on a break out of the hammer and you put in too tight a stop and they kicked you out, and you did it again on the New Zealand and you said, well, I just quit. I'm not trading anymore. So here's the 1 hour zoomed in level. Different look. Now this is, you can see low ATR, low true range of the last hour. Sellers aren't doing too well here. And I'm buying on pullbacks. Also buying on pullbacks here again. And here I'm buying on pullbacks. Everything's pulling back here on the 1 hour. And once again, we have to wait for a news coming out. In about 15 minutes, news. I'll just do a scrunch out so we can see where we are in the big picture. Huge selling window here. So if you were selling new highs today, you're up on every ticket. You sold new highs here, you're only up on half your tickets. Of course, if you rode it back to the breakout point, you cashed out everything fully. And this is the 1 hour charts. We're buying more into this news. We're buying into the news. Just hit 1200 on the margin. Trying to get to 1500 a margin. 1267. I'm taking some heat. Equities still 1270. Here we go. Coming up on 1300 a margin. Counting on that euro to slam down. About 10 more pips. Looks like they run out of sellers on the euro. As they just stopped out, they just trapped somebody on that wick. And we have the news coming out on natural gas storage, and then crude oil at, and that's kind of it for the day. Almost got to $1,300 a margin. Gotta just let it go. I'm kind of done putting in pendings for a while because of the I'm about to get filled on some of these tickets. If we just poke a little bit lower on Australia, in the pound, I'll buy the pound on pullback. I got a bunch of exposure here, so still got to wait for the infamous natural gas storage. It's 50 seconds till news, and I put in a bunch more tickets very close to the market. I'm expecting this Australian dollar to possibly spike. Expecting a possible spike. They bid it right to the edge. On the 4 hour chart, it is taking out this top that becomes a bottom. So you bypassed, you cut deeper than 15 seconds to news. So I just put another order bank here with fairly tight stops. And they're off. The news is out. One more piece of news today. One more piece. Finally got to 1300 here. Getting filled on this Australian dollar plunge. So the penny home sales were down because interest rates are up. That's the answer. But they're just down. It's cheaper to rent. Who cares? Natural gas storage is down a little bit. One more piece of news, and then we're done. Got 1 day left of the year. Euro stabilized here after the last stop hunt. Right here, this deep discount window going all the way back to 10 hours ago. Still looking to take out the low of the day here on the Australian dollar. I'm going to catch a falling knife here. Same thing with this one. Looking for New Zealand to crush. Coming up on my entry window. Almost at the magical 1500 margin usage. And like British pound looks like it's done tanking. I'll put some 12 pip winners in. I'm going to put some 12 pip winners in. Just beyond the lows in the psycho zone. Oh, they just took it out by 1 pip. The low of the day. 1350. And we wait for the crude oil inventory. We just hit 1400. Bingo. 100 more bucks to go on margin. Almost to 1500, down to $3,000. Just about to fill up all these tickets at new lows on New Zealand and Australia. Buying new lows right now on Australia. Buying new lows again, once again on pound and euro. Final move up. Okay, I'm getting cashed out of here. Just before the news, crude oil news. And the margin almost reached 1500. But now I'm looking to take profits on the retracement of these Australian. And the continuation for the pound to take out the high of the day. The euro looks like a follower now, and New Zealand is third place, and bringing up the rear will be the Australian dollar into the news. We're maxing out the margin right into the news, almost 1500 here. Getting filled on more limits from these three pairs. Australia's making new lows. Another pullback on the pound. Another retest of this area. So we wait. Got enough available margin to buy some more New Zealand here. I'm using the 15 pip stops to make 35 pips. Almost to 1500 on the margin. Into the news. Gonna buy super deep here on this Australian. Trying to fill all those tickets. 4 minutes. It's coming up off the floor here. 4 minutes till news. Bingo. 1500. 3 minutes till news. Coming flying off the floor here into the bottom of the scalpers window. So if I see the margin go down and the markets go up, then I'll know that I'm cashing out stuff. So this is the critical window just before the news. They're bidding down the euro. I'm picking up a few more tickets on the euro. I think they could take it down to here again. I'm going to buy into the plunge. And New Zealand looks like they could blow out the bottom of the day. So I'm going to buy that plunge. Almost 1,600 of margin now. Still waiting for that news. Going to buy here again for 40 pips. So balancing out all these trades. One more bounce here maybe. Yeah. News coming out in 1 minute. Pile driving this account here. Still holding just about $3,000 of equity. Definitely squeezing every ounce out of the account. Okay, let's get rid of the objects. Let's look at the actual prices as they bid it down hard into this news. The pound's holding up the best. And euro retesting, going for a big blowout stop hunt. We've already stop hunted these goobers, and the scalpers will be getting out here, I suspect, when the news comes out in 15 seconds. And here I would love to have one more smash and grab down here. So just max the account out. And now let the games begin. The news is out. Win, lose, or draw. The pound is still stronger than the euro now. Of course, this is all deep plunge buy territory for me. No market orders, just pure limits. Still have limits pending here. 16.25, and they're still crushing. The dollar's still kicking ass. If I make it to $2,000, it'll be just the ultimate fill. Really stressing the account, though, I must say. Okay, looks like 1,700 is the max here. Here comes the euro. News has been out for 3 minutes on crude oil. We've been going down for 4 straight hours on the Australian dollar. We bought into that plunge. We bought into the plunge on New Zealand. We've been long the pound. We bought more euro when it pulled back. So now it's basically just let it go till the end of the day. And we wait for 1 hour to hopefully scalp out of a lot of this. We're starting to cash out of some stuff here. And the only thing I can think of is maybe the pound will pull back and fill me up some more limits here. But the euro's off to the races. As they just nick the low of the day there, it took quite a bit of time. And of course, it was all about that moves that you see before the news. Let me not retest that. That pound looks like it's ready to fall back again, so I'll put some orders in here in case we come down one more time. Now just wait for this last 4 hours of the day. Hopefully by 12:30 we will be out of most of this, out of half of this margin. Yeah, the pound looks like it's ready to tank again. Very iffy now this time of day. Finally, the pound's going to take out the high of the day before the euro. So everybody's playing catch up here. Scalpers are about to get out at their floor. Australia, here comes the pound. We have to take out the high of the day. Boom. A big scramble, panic. I think this will be a big short squeeze, you know. In other words, rally. New Zealand's, so I figure it's going to be pound, New Zealand, euro, Australian. Pound's leading. And everybody's going to grab what's not nailed down here as the domino of the dollar goes across 4 pairs. Cascades. 2,700 on the pound. Got to hit that, blow out the top. The other guys follow. There's a chance for the scalpers to get out of this Australia at the breakout point. Is that a breakout or is it a fake out? I say it's a fake out. Moved too fast, too hard into this hole. So we would have bought at the market had we waited an hour to pull the trigger, but we bought on limits. About to take out the high of the day on the pound. About to engulf on New Zealand, and this is going to bring up the rear, and then finally the poor reluctant euro is going to go up. The news has been out for 25 minutes, and the British pound's about to take out the high of the day as the other currencies bring up the rear.